frontier is defined as uncharted territory by land or ocean. Those who chart that territory tell a story. The past illustrates the blueprint for the present, how things are and how they've evolved. From land to water, we are challenged to border that new frontier, a frontier the outdoorsman knows like no other. Author Gary Lewis works his way along that edge of where discoveries, failures, and achievements have written the story of the sportsman.
Yes! Yes!
From state to state, continent to continent, the stories told create the foundation of the present, and they lay the framework for the future. Through the muzzle fire and on the stone are stories from the edge.
Water is the most important thing as far as Indians are concerned, 'cause that's life.
The past is written, the present is here, and this is Frontier Unlimited. Here, the preservation of the land is a higher value than the wealth of its wild mammals.
What we're going to do this morning is we're going to go out and look for a red stag and see what we get excited about. The wind is blowing hard enough, my hat's going to have a hard time staying on. My little rattle back here is warning me all the time, rattling in my ear. Don says there's two deer up on the road, way up on the hill there.
This is Gary Lewis's third time hunting in New Zealand. Deer were moving, but they were high on the mountain.
There's quite a lot of wind, so the animal's going to be pretty hunkered down still.
I saw them, but I can't tell what they look like. The weather's changed a lot. We're under a full moon right now, which makes a difference too. These stags are going to be more active, especially now with the drop in the temperature. We're probably going to have a wind in a steady direction, so that's good. The more noise that the wind makes, the easier it is to get close as well.
Without predators of any kind, populations quickly grow out of balance.
Nothing that we want there.
We drove well past the town, past the top of Lake Wanaka, and turned back on the narrow goat track, which took us through the mud bog and up a tunnel of bent-over manuka and cabbage trees. It was April. It was New Zealand on the South Island. It was the roar. The narrow track took us about 1,000 feet above the valley floor.
We're up now on the level of that waterfall that we were looking at earlier. So we've gained a lot of altitude, and this will be a big help. Ooh, there's a big boy. I see a big one up there. Do you see him?
Yeah, I see that one straight across there, but I can't. He's got his head down.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be one lower down here as well. Going to be quite hard getting up through all that heavy cover there.
We leaned our backs against Don Cameron's Land Cruiser and glassed the hills above us. It had been a full moon night before.
Beautiful, deep, rich red.
How do we get to him?
We have to follow this. See, there's a track goes around through there, and we'll just have to cut our way through.
Oh, I see it.
There's no predators here, so they just had a pretty open book as far as going for it and breeding up, and so in the 1930s they'd sort of got out of control a bit, and then probably 1950s the government introduced a culling program on the deer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
To try and control the numbers. And it wasn't until the 60s when the helicopters arrived that they really got on top of the numbers, started to control them. Okay.
So we're going to have to be real careful now.
Mm-hmm. And then we started farming them in the early 70s, realised that they were a tremendous resource.
We go here, yeah, then we're onto that knob. I reckon it'll be no more than 200.
Right, yeah, we'll be close there.
I'll range it for you.
Here, yeah.
This segment is brought to you by Robertson Ford in Bend, Oregon. It was April. It was New Zealand on the South Island. It was the roar. Lewis figured at about 900 yards in the straight line, there were 4 deep canyons between us in every step through the spiky matagari bush. Chambered for the 26 Nosler, this rifle, equipped with a Miopta scope, was capable of making a 1,000-yard shot.
I see his antler tips.
Lewis had shot it and rang the steel at 985 yards, but on a game animal, he wanted to get close. As Lewis held his breath, the antlers, laid low against his back, grew nearer. Lewis waited until the chest was visible and thumbed to safety. This was a stag worthy of the great game halls of medieval Europe.
He just moved around.
Yeah.
Nowhere there because of the wind. And but he knew there was something.
He knew there was something up. Yeah, he wanted to come take a look.
And he roared a couple of times to hear him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow.
You got a couple of nice animals to take home.
Yes. Wow.
And a lot of predators around, so they come out, feed when it's really good, and then they can go away and bed up in a safe place and chew their cud and digest their food. So the idea is they can go out, just hoover a whole lot, get it on board, and get somewhere safe, and sit there and grind it up and digest it.
Wow.
Through those last few gullies, we're getting a bit sketchy.
Yeah. This stag, he is up here, up where there are no fences. He is outside of the wire. But he had a tag in his ear. What that tells you is that these fences can't hold him. If they don't want to be there, they can get through them. And we found where they've busted the wire and gone under, and they can definitely jump over if they need to. It's one thing to get a deer up here, but now it's a whole different thing to get it back down there.
He let his guard down, and that's what happens this time of year when they're in the rut.
You happy with your stag, Gary?
Yep.
Is that your nicest one?
Well,
That's a yes.
yeah.
Okay.
All mine have been, great.
Yeah. Going to target a stag. A red deer. Up in the hills above Aurora.
Every once in a while, I get a chance to put down the camera and partake in the hunt as a hunter.
Also 2 on that kind of pink hill face. Like one's a hind and one's a stag. Well, we just got done with Gary's hunt. That was very successful, and went back for lunch and spotted a couple up here before we went back for lunch. Thought we'd come back and make a play on them. It looks like there's a couple good stags here up above the fence a ways, so. Yeah, those are thick main beams.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of light left here before this starts getting shady, so. Oh wow, I would be down to make a play on him. His right side almost looks like it's broken up on top. Looks like he's kind of got a flat piece. I think we might go after this one. It's a very, very nice stag.
Getting myself familiar with the trigger pull,
Sweet.
So if you need to dial.
Lewis acquaints me with the 26 Nosler. Every once in a while,
180 yards.
I get a chance to put down the camera and partake in the hunt as a hunter. With a stag spotted up the slope, others were weary, but I was set on the one we had spotted from the road.
So we continue on?
Yeah, get up that face just then.
Okay.
It's a good track.
Sounds good. Don was saying how easy it is for these stags to break through these fences. And he was just fixing one that looked like some escape through, so.
The wind is twirling. There's a stag right on the other side. We have an updraft going up this gully, but chasing the light. Yep, 3 in there. Up the next knob. Yeah. We got 2 hinds right there, which puts us in kind of a pickle. Because we were gonna go straight up here for the stag that's over there. But now we're in the view of other hinds. Got a stag about probably 250. And there's a hind right below him that can kind of see us. So we gotta be tactful, I think. Yeah, that's the one we spotted from the road down there. There's 180 yards. With Gary's rifle, 200 yards is about 0. So should be just nothing. Just give him a minute. He's got to feed onto that bridge. Okay.
Though the first shot connected well, a second shot can be necessary for assurance purposes.
How's that? Well done, my friend.
That was intense. That is the biggest animal I've ever killed.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
That's a serious stag.
Yeah.
It's a big animal. You wait and see when we get close to him.
He's a whopper.
He's got the Lord of the Rings curl on top. Like Gandalf's approach.
That's right. I'm really glad we went up for this one.
Yeah.
Because I saw that one down there and I was like, that one is a honker.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, but I want to go up and get the one we spotted.
Yeah.
Higher up, this is perfect. This is a representative of a stag.
Look how
Nike these are, yeah. Right.
The man of the hill.
Yeah.
Good,
What a
those
day.
mountains look beautiful. Look at
This
those
is a
stags.
day, man. This is a day.
With 2 stags down, friend and first-time big game hunter Lynn Jarvis prepares for the stalk with her husband Steve.
We're in New Zealand because Gary Lewis called and asked us to come to hunt. He asked Steve, and so we thought it over and we thought it'd be a great idea because it's our 25th wedding anniversary. So thought it would be a fun trip, and actually I decided to hunt my first big game animal, the red stag. I've never hunted big game before.
See where that rock is just below the fence?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, come over down to the right and there's like a slip. You see the dirt, it's just a bit of a dirt bank, no grass on it. He's straight up from that, maybe 100 yards above the fence.
The Camerons have a trained eye and can spot game from a long ways out.
I'll grab the other rounds off you and I'll put them in my pack. We'll just see what the breeze does and we'll either go left or right of that big rocky face.
Okay.
We'll climb up and start throwing some lead around.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
They headed up the slope after spotting the tips of a stag's antlers sheltered behind a large rock near the upper fence.
We'll just let them settle because otherwise we keep going.
It's a really nice one.
If he'd move over 10 yards, it'd be perfect. You could sneak right up there on him.
You don't get big by being down. They're quite frustrating too though because you can just see the tops of their antlers when you're trying to get a shot, but all you can see is the top of their antlers. So follow the front leg up and then right smack bang in the middle. You can almost sort of see it too, the bit of the bulge where the shoulder is.
In the middle of the
Yeah,
shoulder.
just right up in the middle.
Sounds good.
Pull the trigger.
You can do it. It's just on the other side of the fence. Can you see him?
I see the horns.
Yeah. This is why hopefully he'll walk out.
With the stag so close, every move is critical.
Give me. Yeah, give me. There you go. Yeah, go.
There.
You all right?
Okay, I'm fixing to shoot.
Okay.
Well done, man. Woo! Oh, baby.
Well done.
Woo!
And I was like, oh no.
Woo, baby.
You don't get any closer than that, even when you're bow hunting. I mean, it's like range of like 20 at most.
I'm glad that it was harder because
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. So exciting.
25 years.
Wow. First stag.
Wow.
Woo.
Awesome.
It's in my blood now.
Did you get the rush?
I did.
The rush.
Spray like that, Joe.
Yes!
I just never handled firearms, never grew up with that culture. And actually, 2 of my sons went off to boot camp for the US Navy. The middle son came back. One of the things he said to me was, "Mom, you should really look into this, you would love it." Then the second one comes back about a year later and says the exact same thing to me.
We got a whole bunch of cattle moving down the trail that we were planning to drive in on. And so we got to wait for the farmer to come down in his little buggy here and move all these cows out of the way. So these cattle drives happen in the States as well, and lots of times I'm going somewhere and I get stuck because of a whole bunch of black cattle moving across the landscape.
You can understand on a property like this. I mean, it's a large property, and if the gate gets left open or anything, well, it can cause some days of work, you know, sort it all out. So what we just do is say, you know, ultimately the buck falls on me because I'm sort of in charge of the people. So I make sure that all the gates are latched and left exactly as they are. You just got to give the guys, you know, it's their property. I mean, you just got to stay out of their way. That's the main thing. You know, we're lucky to be over here hunting, so.
Debbie Getz of Warren Scope Mounts is after her first big game animal, and among the Black Angus, the cattle-grazed landscape, mature stags have been known to graze the area and do a number on the fences.
There's a stag just over the top of this hill, and he's on the other side of a field fence. We're gonna just see if we can get close, get another look at him. Look pretty good from far away.
I've been doing photography with single lens reflex cameras since I was 16. So I discovered out here in the hunt, looking through the scope is pretty similar to how I look through the camera.
This is exciting. We're in an old hunting property that's being converted over into farmland, and the wild deer are running through here, breaking down the fences. And we've spotted a stag. We think there's a good chance we're going to get on him.
With the camera, when you're huffing and puffing because you're running to get a good shot, you have to learn to control your breathing so that your camera is steady. I found it was pretty much the same with trying to get the rifle steady.
With the mature stag spotted through the Matagari bush, Don Chambers and Nosler AccuBond around.
I'm looking through the scope and the scope's moving like this. I controlled my breathing, took my breath, and instead of taking a picture, I
Just spray like that, Sean. Okay.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
he's still running.
He's not going to run fast.
And it was pretty much the same. So I found that it was a really easy transition for me to go to the hunting because of that.
Hit him good. Hit him good. That was incredible.
One shot.
One shot. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty lethal shot, so we're just going to sneak on down there now.
Actually going to start looking into some other hunting trips. Dan may have created a monster here.
Yeah, well, he's just in this area here somewhere, so we don't know if he's done or he's just resting up, so we'll...
When a stag is down, it is common to take your time in recovery in case the animal has not fully yet expired.
Wow, great. Fantastic. Yeah.
One bullet, first stag.
Oh, he is beautiful.
He is something else, isn't he?
Oh my goodness. That is amazing. Oh.
He is one mother sucker, isn't he? Look at that. You
One
can hang
little
your
one,
wedding
right?
ring on that so it counts as a point.
Okay. This was absolutely amazing.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Deep into the camera. Day like this, that's what I want to smell right there. It's better than mustering cows, huh?
No, you do right today.